All right, today's video is all about traveling during the pandemic. Stay tuned. Okay, so I just returned from Croatia. I went in the early part of October to Croatia, so I learned quite a bit about how to travel during this pandemic. And there are some things that you need to know. Be prepared to clean up. Clean your seat. Now, all the airlines are taking tons of precautions with this. All prepared meals are pre-prepared meals. So they are sealed, so nobody else has touched them, no chance for germs. You are the person who unseals your meal. It, of course, has been warmed up, but you are warming it up. You are going to be given rags, or not rags, wipies, cleaning wipes to clean your seat. And they have already taken precautions of going through and cleaning it pretty well beforehand. So it's a pretty clean experience. Two, you have to know that you will be wearing your mask for a long time, depending on where you're flying from. If you're flying from the East Coast over to a place like Croatia or Turkey, you're probably looking at an 8 to 10 hour flight or something, maybe just a little bit longer. In the West Coast, the Midwest, you're probably looking at up at a minimum of 17 or 18 hours in airports and flights. But upwards to 24 hours, and if you're really crazy, longer than that. And you will have to wear your mask the whole time. I would recommend bringing at least 3 or 4 different masks so that when you feel uncomfortable, you can change it out and just get a new feel on your face. Just for comfort's sake. So be prepared to wear a mask for a long period of time. 3, if it's a direct from a major hub, if your flight's directly from a major hub, you will probably see hardly anybody on the plane. There will be very few people because what the airlines are doing is they have to keep those major flights open. So they want to lose the contract from that major hub to another international airport. So in order to do that, they have to maintain a certain amount of flights. Now, they may have been able to cut them down, but they still have to send them. And even those flights are minimal. So you're going to probably see a lot of empty seats. You're probably going to have an empty row. On my flights, on the way there was one person sitting behind me. The next person was 2 rows up and way over. On my return flight, I was in the middle of the plane by the restrooms, and there wasn't anybody for 2 rows in front of me, and then nobody all the way over to the opposite side of the plane. So very spacious, a lot of space to get comfortable. It's really a treat, kind of, to go on a flight like that. I kind of enjoyed it. Number 3, you'll probably need to have a rapid PCR test. Now, I already did a video on this, but most countries you can visit, and there's lots you cannot because Europe is spiking right now. Many countries are requiring this rapid PCR test, which is not as easy to get. Please watch my previous video on this so you can understand what you're going to have to do to find out how to do that. It's not terribly difficult, but please watch that previous video. The international airports are kind of empty. I flew into both Munich and London. In Munich, it was a ghost town. I had a 5-hour layover on my way, and there weren't people for 6 gates both directions from where I was sitting. There was my gate, and then nobody for 6. One direction, nobody for 6. The other direction, it was empty. There was nobody there until right before the flight took off. And then I finally saw some people. I was there by myself. Yeah, it was fun, though. I enjoyed it. Not as much as you can enjoy a layover when you're there for 5 hours and there's nothing much you can do. unless you have some of those really nice loyalty clubs and things are open, some are not. So you probably need to check ahead of time. Number 5. Well, that was number 5. Upon return, you may need to quarantine, depending on where you live. Some states are requiring a quarantine if you have gone to a foreign country of any kind. Some states, this is kind of common practice in some states. So you need to research. It's not a might need to. You don't need to have your job affected based on your trip. There's a chance you're going to take some risks taking this trip, whatever you're doing. No matter what, there might be a risk. Short story, my daughter was visiting England, she still is. When she got there, all of a sudden it started locking down. And so her boyfriend could not get her to her flight because they had locked down the border in Wales. And so nobody could come out of Wales to go to London to catch their flight. And England was shutting down quite a bit, still is. So she had to find the return flight that after the lockdown. Well, the lockdown's at least a couple more weeks, and she couldn't get a return flight for almost a full month afterwards. So her trip was delayed because of lockdowns in other countries. So you need to be aware of that. So I would tell you other things that you're going to see. The way other countries handle the mask policy, their mask policy may be different than what you're used to here in the States. When I was in Croatia, if it was an open area, people did not feel like they needed to wear their masks. Here, if even it's an open area, like a parking lot, people will feel like they need to wear their mask in that parking lot. So there were a lot of open areas in Croatia. People just weren't wearing masks, and there were a healthy number of people. I wouldn't call it a huge crowd, but enough of a crowd that I was nervous because it was different than what I was seeing here in the States. So be prepared that some of those things may make you just a little bit uncomfortable when you're taking these trips. I would recommend you do what you feel comfortable doing. Don't feel like you have to take your mask off just because everybody else had their mask off. And don't feel like, I do think you should wear masks when you're in a building. I think that's just an automatic. But, don't feel pressured to do something you're not comfortable doing. If you like this video, please hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. Do whatever you can to support this channel I'm trying to create. I believe we'll see a return to international travel starting pretty early in 2021. Europe is getting hit by a second wave of coronavirus. And so the predictions will be that after that, those waves will slow down. They'll start amping down, and it won't be as big of a concern for them because they'll feel like they have a greater handle on the virus. So they'll probably start opening up because they are missing those funds for travel. So I would recommend it's okay to start planning for trips next year. Now, if you don't feel comfortable doing it at the beginning of the year, plan for the middle of the year. Plan for June, July, August. Plan for May. But be prepared to return to it. These countries need our business as well as businesses like mine. Because, people rely on the travel industry to support major parts of their country's GDP. So, and if you love to travel like I do, then think about this. It will be beneficial. So, if you'd like to follow us, we're on Instagram at nerdgasmic.adventures. We're also on Facebook as Nerdgasmic Adventures, and we have a website which show what tours we're going to be running, just 3 next summer, and that's at nerdgasmicadventures.com. All right, this is Kelly signing off. I'll catch you later.